Okay, we'll start. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So today we will have some discourse, of course, about this Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, the first discourse given by Buddha after the enlightenment, so that others can understand the ways and means to achieve that kind of supreme enlightenment. So whatever knowledge he gained, so he decided to teach to others so that they can also learn these techniques and they can also become emancipated, enlightened. So the first discourse that was given by Buddha, so that kind of transmission of Dhamma, transmission of this knowledge that started. That's why it's called the Dhammacakka, the rolling of the Dhamma wheel. Once the Dhamma wheel is, like say, started rolling, then it will start reaching so many people and they start learning Dhamma and they start becoming enlightened ones. So they also become arahants, or they start getting the glimpses of Nibbana, the ultimate happiness, at different levels. There are 4 levels, as many of you know. So the gist of this Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, that definitely we will see, and of course a little bit about Guru Puṇṇimā. And before that, we will chant this Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. This Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, each and where the phrasing of these different words, the alignment, that is also very, very inspiring. And of course, though it is in Pali, many of the words, they are very, very similar to our present-day Indian languages. In many languages, we can see these words, Pali words. And a few words, definitely, we can grasp it. And more than that, these are the words of Buddha. So that will definitely give immense inspiration, immense confidence. And of course, the gist of it, word by word, meaning also we can see maybe a little bit. And also the gist of this Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta and how it started changing the view of the people. See, that is actually crucial. Once the view is changed, then everything will fall in place. Somehow, very unfortunately, the world is stuck in wrong views. It's not like one should work for months and years only on meditation, or only on even the meritorious action, or only on reading and memorizing. This all, of course, depending on the temperament of the people, it is definitely useful. But more than that, understanding the right view, the right path is the key, is the essential. That's what actually it is presented here in this Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. Understanding this, the right path, with right trigger, then it will take care of. Then one will start progressing in this path and start getting the different, start reaching the different milestones in this path. And finally, he can reach the ultimate goal of Nibbana also. So in that way, this Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. It is a very, very powerful sutta where most of the teachings of Buddha, they are very much, like say, it is covered in this single sutta itself. And in this very sutta itself, it started having the impact. The mission of Buddha started. His dispensation started. That means people, by learning this, they started experiencing the ultimate liberation, ultimate happiness, ultimate bliss, ultimate emancipation, the enlightenment. They started achieving. Just listening to this, and the gist is exact right view, the actual right view. Once that actual right view strikes your mind, that's it. Then everything will fall in place. That kind of powerful perception about what is right, what is wrong, what is happiness, what is suffering, what is beneficial, what is not beneficial, what leads to higher and higher progress in mind purification, what leads to more and more entanglement. That clarity we can see in this Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. So we'll chant this with full faith and confidence. That is also important. See, any spiritual path, it requires, of course, the wisdom, the right view. So in addition to that, there should be some right faith in the right view. So to develop that kind of right faith in the right view, and the people or the teacher or the masters who declared, who discovered this right view, it should have some right faith also. So again, to achieve that right confidence and right faith, so it is better to chant the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. So all over the world, all monasteries, maybe even the lay people also, so many organizations, they are chanting this all over the world. And of course, it has some kind of vibes. We can connect to those vibes. That is one thing. And the second thing is, as I told you, to establish ourselves in this right path, this right view, we should have that right faith also. Some right faith. So if we chant this, then definitely it will be easy to establish in this path of right view and right liberation, right happiness. So with that understanding, we're going to chant this, not out of like a ritual, not like some kind of blind ritual or some blind faith. It is with this understanding, with that, what is understanding? We should establish in the right path of this right view. For that, we should connect to the right teachers or the right, the discoverer, the Buddha. So with that inclination, with that aspiration, we are going to chant this. Okay. Now all of you listen to this chanting with all the faith and with this understanding. Then we will see the meaning of this and also the gist, the key takeaway from this Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. Okay. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Itipiso bhagavarahan samma sambuddho vidyacharana sampanno sugato lokavidu anuttaro purisadamma sarati satta deva manusanang buddho bhagavati. Namo tassa samma sambuddhassa. Swakato bhagavata dhammo sanditi ko akaliko ehipasiko vapanayako pachatang veditabho vinno hiti. Namo tassaniyanika sadammasa. Supatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho jupatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho nyaya patipanno bhagavato savaka sangho sami chipatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho. Idam chattari purisa yugani atta purisa puggala esa bhagavato savaka sangho ahuneyo pahuneyo dakkineyo anjali karaniyo anuttarang punyaketang lokasati. Namo tassa atta arya puggala mahasangasa. Vipatti pativahaya sabba sampatti siddhiya sabba dukkang vinasaya sabba bhayang vinasaya Sabbarogang vinasaya bhavedīgāyukadāyaka Sabbalokang hitattaya parittantang banamahe Samanta cakkavālesu atra gaccantu devata Taddammang nirājassa sunantu saggamokadam Dhammasavana kālo ayam badanta Hadhammasavana kālo ayam badanta Parittasavana kālo ayam badanta Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa एवं मे सुतं एकं समयं भगवा वाराणसीयं विहरति इसी पटने मिगदाये तत्र को भगवा पंचवग्ये भिक्खु अमन्तेसि द्वे मे भिक्खवे अन्ता पब्बजितेन न सेवितब्बा कथमे द्वे यो छायं कामेषु कामसु कल्लिकानुयोगो हीनो गम्मो पोतुज्जनिको अनर्यो अनत्त संहितो यो छायं अत्तकिलमतानुयोगो दुःखो अनर्यो अनत्त संहितो येते को भिक्खवे उभो अन्ते अनुपगम्म मज्जिमा पटिपदा तथागतेनाभिसम्बुद्धा चक्षुकरणी ज्ञानकरणी उपशमाया विन्याय संबोधाया निबानाया संवत्तति कथमा च सा भिक्खवे मज्जिमा पटिपदा तथागतेनाभिसम्बुद्धा चक्षुकरणी ज्ञानकरणी उपशमाया विन्याय संबोधाया निबानाया संवत्तति अयमेव अयो अट्टंगिको मग्गो संयतिदं सम्मादित्ति सम्मा संकप्पो सम्मा वाचा सम्मा कम्मन्तो सम्मा जीवो सम्मा वायामो सम्मा सति सम्मा समाधि अयं को सा भिक्खवे मज्जिमा पटिपदा तथागतेनाभिसम्बुद्धा चक्षुकरणी ज्ञानकरणी उपशमाया विन्याय संबोधाया निब्बानाया संवत्तति इदं कोपन भिक्खवे दुःखं गर्य सच्चं जातिपि दुःखा जरापि दुःखा व्याधिपि दुःखो मरणंपि दुःखं अप्येहि संपयोगो दुःखो पियेहि विपयोगो दुःखो यंपिच्छन्नालभति तंपि दुःखं संकिट्टेन पंचुपादानस्कन्ध दुःखा इदं कोपन भिक्खवे दुःख समुदयं गर्य सच्चं यायं तणः पोनभविका नन्दिराग सहगता तत्र तत्राभिनन्दिनी संयतिदं कामतणः भवतणः विभवतणः इदं कोपन भिक्खवे दुःख निरोधं गर्य सच्चं यो तस्सा एव तणहाया अशेष विराग निरोधो चागो पटिनि सग्गो मुक्ति अनालयो इदं कोपन भिक्खवे दुःख निरोधगामिनी पटिपदार्य सच्चं अयमेव अर्यो अट्टंगिको मग्गो संयतिदं सम्मादिट्टि सम्मा संकप्पो सम्मा वाचा सम्मा कम्मन्तो सम्मा अजीवो सम्मा वायामो सम्मा सति सम्मा समाधि इदं दुःखं गर्य सच्चन्ति मे भिक्खवे पुब्बे अनुनस्सुते सुधम्मेषु चक्षुं उदपादि ज्ञानं उदपादि पन्या उदपादि विद्या उदपादि आलोको उदपादि तंकोपनिदं दुःखं गर्य सच्चं परिण्ययन्ति मे भिक्खवे तंकोपनिदं दुःख गर्य सच्चं परिज्ञातन्ति मे भिक्खवे पुब्बे अनुनस्सुते सुधम्मेषु चक्षुं उदपादि ज्ञानं उदपादि पन्या उदपादि विद्या उदपादि आलोको उदपादि इदं दुःख समुदयं गर्य सच्चन्ति मे भिक्खवे तंकोपनिदं दुःख समुदयं गर्य सच्चं पहातब्बन्ति मे भिक्खवे तंकोपनिदं दुःख समुदयं गर्य सच्चं पहीनन्ति मे भिक्खवे इदं दुःख निरोधं गर्य सच्चन्ति मे भिक्खवे तंकोपनिदं दुःख निरोधं गर्य सच्चं सच्चिकातब्बन्ति मे भिक्खवे तंकोपनिदं दुःख निरोधं गर्य सच्चं सच्चिकतन्ति मे भिक्खवे इदं दुःख निरोधगामिनी पटिपदा अर्य सच्चन्ति मे भिक्खवे तंकोपनिदं दुःख निरोधगामिनी पटिपदा अर्य सच्चं भावे तब्बन्ति मे भिक्खवे तंकोपनिदं दुःख निरोधगामिनी पटिपदा अर्य सच्चं भावितन्ति मे भिक्खवे पुब्बे अनुनस्सुते सुधम्मेषु चक्षुं उदपादि ज्ञानं उदपादि पन्या उदपादि विद्या उदपादि आलोको उदपादि यावकी वंच मे भिक्खवे इमेषु चतुषु अर्य सच्चेषु एवंति परिवर्तन् द्वादशाकारं यथा भूतं ज्ञानदर्शनं नास्तु विशुद्धं अहोसि नेवतावाहं भिक्खवे सदेवके लोके सब्रह्मके तमारके सब्रह्मके सत्समण ब्राह्मणिया पजाया सदेव मनुष्याय अनुत्तरं सम्मा संबोधिं अभिसंबुद्धोति पच्चन्यासिं यथोचको मे भिक्खवे इमेषु चतुषु अर्यसच्चेषु एवंति परिवर्तन् द्वादशाकारं यथा भूतं ज्ञानदर्शनं सुविशुद्धं अहोसि अताहं भिक्खवे सदेवके लोके समारके सब्रह्मके सत्समण ब्राह्मणिया पजाय सदेव मनुष्याय अनुत्तरं सम्मा संबोधिं अभिसंबुद्धोति पच्चन्यासिं ज्ञानं चपन मे दर्शनं उदपादि अकुप्पा मे चेतो विमुक्ति अयमन्तिमा जाति नत्तिदानि पुनर्भवति इदमवोच भगवा अत्तमना पंचवग्गिया भिक्खु भगवतो भासितं अभिनन्दन्ति इमस्मिन् चपन वैयाकरणस्मिन् बन्यामाने आयस्मतो खण्डन्यस्स विरजन् गीतमलं धम्मचक्कुं उदपादि यंकिंचि समुदय धम्मं सब्भं तं निरोध धम्मन्ति पवत्तिते चपन भगवता धम्मचक्के बुम्माद देवा शुद्धं सद्दमनुस्सावेसन् एतं भगवता बाणस्यं पटाने मिगदाये अनुत्तरं धम्मचक्रं पवत्तिटं अपटिवत्तियं समणेन वा ब्राह्मणेन वा देवेन वा मारेण वा ब्रह्मणा वा केनचिवा लोकस्मन्ति बुम्मानां देवानां सद्दं श्रुत्वा चतुमहाराजिकदेवा सद्दमनुस्सावेसन् चतुमहाराजिकानां देवानां सद्दं श्रुत्वा तावतिंस देवा सद्दमनुस्सावेसन् तावतिंसानां देवानां सद्दं श्रुत्वा यमदेवा सद्दमनुस्सावेसन् यामानां देवानां सद्दं श्रुत्वा तुषितदेवा सद्दमनुस्सावेसुन् तुषितानां देवानां सद्दं श्रुत्वा निम्माणर्दितेवा दद्दमनुस्सा सद्दमनुस्सावेसुन् निम्माणरतीनां देवानां सद्दं श्रुत्वा परनिम्मितवसवतिनो देवा सद्दमनुस्सावेसुन् परनिम्मितवसवतीनां देवानां सद्दं श्रुत्वा ब्रह्मकायिका देवा सद्दमनुस्सावेसुन् एतं भगवता वारणस्यं गिचिपटने मिगदाये अनुत्तरं धम्मचक्रं पवत्तिटं अपटिवत्तियं समणेन वा ब्रह्मणेन वा देवेन वा मारेण वा ब्रह्मणा वा केनचिवा लोकस्मिन्ति इति हत्तेन कणेन तेन लयेन तेन मुहूर्तेन याव ब्रह्मलोका सद्दो अभुगच्छि अयं च दशसहस्री लोकदातु संकंपि संपकंपि संपवेदि अप्पमानो च उलारो उपासो लोके पातुरहोसि अतिक्कम देवानां देवानुभावम् अतको भगवा इमं उदानं उदानेसि अन्यासि वतवो कोण्डन्यो अन्यासि वतवो कोण्डन्योति इतहिदं आयस्मतो कोण्डन्यस्सा अन्या कोण्डन्यो त्वेव नामं अहोसीति एतेन सच्चवज्जेन सोतिनो होतु सब्बदा एतेन सच्चवज्जेन होतु नो जय मंगलम् एतेन सच्चवज्जेन पातु नो रत्नत्रय सब्बित्यो विवज्जन्तु सब्बरोगो विनश्यतु माते भवत्वन्तरायो सुखी दीर्घायुको भवतु सब्बमङ्गलं रक्षन्तु सब्बदेवता सब्बबुद्धानुभावेन सब्बधम्मानुभावेन सब्बसङ्घानुभावेन सदा स्वस्ति भवन्तु ते नक्कत्तयक्कभूतानां पापग्रह निवारण परित्तस्सानुभावेन हन्तु नो उपद्रवे देवो वसातु कालेन सस्य संपत्ति हेतु च प्रीतो भवतु लोको च राजा भवतु धम्मिको यं दुर्निमित्तं गवमङ्गलं च यो च मनापो सकुणस्य सद्दो पापग्रहो दुःसुपिनङ्गकन्तं बुद्धानुभावेन विनाशमिन्तु धम्मानुभावेन विनाशमिन्तु संगानुभावेन विनाशमिन्तु आकाशता च बुम्मट्टा देवनागा महिद्दिका पुण्यन्तं अनुमोदित्वा चिरं रक्षन्तु शासनं चिरं रक्षन्तु देशनं चिरं रक्षन्तु मम परं एतावता च अम्नेहि सम्पतं पुण्यसम्पदं सब्बे देवा अनुमोदन्तु सब्बे भूता अनुमोदन्तु सब्बे सत्ता अनुमोदन्तु सब्ब संपत्ति सिद्धिया निब्बान संपत्ति सिद्धिया इदं नो न्यातिनं होतु सुखिता होन्तु न्यातयो इदं नो न्यातिनं होतु सुखिता होन्तु न्यातयो इदं नो न्यातिनं होतु सुखिता होन्तु न्यातयो सब्बे बुद्धा बलपाता पच्चेकानं च यं बलंगरहंतानं च तेजेना रक्षं बंदामि सब्बसो सब्बे धम्मा बलपाता आर्य सच्चनं च यं बलं धम्मचक्रस्य तेजेना रक्षं बंदामि सब्बसो सब्बे संगा बलपाता विमुक्तानं च यं बलं शासनस्य तेजेना रक्षं बंदामि सब्बसो इमिना पुण्याकम्मेना मामे बालसमागमो सतं समागमो होतु यावनिब्बानपत्तिया इदं मे पुण्याकमं आसवक्कयं वहं होतु सब्बदुःखापमुच्यतु निब्बान संपज्जयो होतु सत् सुखियंत मंगल हो. So to this chanting, of course today is full moon day. You can take 5 precepts also, but that we will see later. After the discourse, we will see based on the time availability. Okay, now we will see the meaning of this Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, and then we can relate it to our practice that we are taking up, many of us, and also a little bit of the necessity for this kind of group practice. kind of practicing under some guidance in a group, what is its importance. And we're having one Kalyana Mitra, one good friend who is dedicated to this and taking his or her help, how much it is required. That is what is actually the Guru means. Its Guru doesn't mean that he is one absolutely superior being and everybody should surrender to him. No. He's a person who is little ahead of you in that path and who can guide you, who can show you the path, who can give you the different milestones in the path, and who can also guide you how to trod the path without challenges, or maybe when challenges come, how to face the challenges. Such kind of some ideas, suggestions, techniques, some kind of caution, some kind of solutions when the challenges come. It's just like one good friend, that's all. So in that sense, actually, in Buddhist practices, that is the impact of Guru. Unlike, of course, in many Indian traditions, they give so much importance to Guru. And in some traditions, they don't care for Guru. In some materialistic traditions, they don't care for the Guru. But again, it is a middle path. How much to care, consider, entertain the Gurus or Kalyana Mitras. And and again, striking the middle path, not taking it to extremes, not too much dependence at the same time, not too much ignoring the guides, the teachers, the coaches, the gurus. Somewhere one should learn how to strike the balance, how to take up this middle path approach. But also we will see, as it is also the Guru Puṇṇimā. So, of course, in Buddhist traditions also, so this kind of venerating the Gurus is very much there. So that also we will see how much and to what extent and what is the middle path approach in entertaining the teacher or venerating the teacher. That also we will see. So what is the meaning of this Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta? And of course, so Buddha, after his enlightenment, he just traveled to Varanasi, Saranath, present day Saranath. It's very close to Varanasi, Benares, because his 5 disciples, those 5 disciples, they were very special actually. One of them, he knew very well that, so immediately after the birth of Buddha, when he was Bodhisattva, infant Bodhisattva, he could see the marks on that infant Buddha, the Bodhisattva's body, and he knew very well that he will become a supremely enlightened Buddha. His name was Kaundinya. He was very youngest of the many astrologers who were appointed by his father, Bodhisattva's father, Shuddhodana. When Shuddhodana asked about the future of this child, that is the Bodhisattva or Buddha, then this Kaundinya, he was authoritatively, without any doubt, he declared that he will definitely become Sammasambuddha. And other astrologers also, they were wise enough, but they had 2 options, or maybe to please the king also, maybe some of them, they may be having some 2 options. So one option is he will become supremely enlightened Buddha. The other option is he became one very powerful king, Chakravarti Maharaja, a wheel-turning monarch, very, very powerful king. Those 2 options, the other 7 astrologers, they could foresee regarding this, our Bodhisattva's future. That means our Buddha's future. But this Kaundinya, he was so clear that this young prince, he will become supremely enlightened Buddha. So from that day itself, he was behind Buddha. Because that was the power of the teacher. He knew very well that he will become Buddha, and I have to learn from the teacher only. Because without teacher, So I can't learn the ways and means to purify my mind and liberate the mind and to become emancipated, to become enlightened. So he is the teacher. He will be the teacher. So I should serve him from now itself. In that way, he was actually behind our prince, the Bodhisattva, the would-be Buddha. So in these five, we can call them as the disciples or those who are serving Buddha. When he left his house, these five people also, they left the house. One of them is this Puṇṇimā, the astrologer himself. And the other four are the children of the other astrologers, other seven astrologers. So the children of other four astrologers, they were the other four disciples of Buddha who served Buddha. When he left his house at the age of 29 and the 6 years up to the age of 35, all these five, of course, they're all from the royal background only. They were all astrologers. Royal in the sense like they were serving the kings and the wise people, the wise astrologers' family. So all these five bhikkhus, not that time, they were not bhikkhus, they were renunciates, you can say. So 6 years they served. So out of gratitude, Buddha decided, I should go and teach them. So that is again one kind of gurudom you can see in Buddha's tradition. Even the gurus also, they are grateful to the disciples and their servants or whoever, those who give one meal also, they will be grateful. That's what Buddha teaches in many of the sutras. In that way, it is not like one absolute authoritarianism. Guruhood or gurudom is not absolute authoritarianism in Buddha's teachings. Though the guru may be supremely enlightened, he may be very, very wise and may be very authoritative, but he will also show, he can also show, he should also show a kind of gratitude, even with these worldly services that he gets from his disciples, from his students. That is one more teaching you can see in the Buddha's tradition. One more special aspect you can see. So out of that gratitude for these five disciples, or five friends, you can say, five disciples, or even you can say those who are serving him, they used to serve him also. But because they were upset when Buddha started taking some meals, but he discovered that too much torturing of the body without taking food and all, it is nonsense. It will help in no way. It will take me nowhere. It will take me nowhere. It helps me in no way. So that's what he decided when he started taking food. During those days, especially in the middle land, Majjhima Desha, that means the North India and maybe southern parts of Nepal also. So it's called Majjhima Desha. There was one strong belief that only by torturing the body as much as possible, one can liberate the mind, one can become enlightened. That was the notion, that was the strong belief. Maybe because of so many these Samana groups, these traditions, so many sects. And that time, these Nigantas, that means the present day Jains, they were also very large in number. They have tremendous impact on the society. And they were of that nature, that view, that too much torturing of the body liberates the mind or liberates the soul. But Buddha discovered that it's of no use. That's why he started taking the food. But these five disciples, they felt bad. They became very, let's say, disappointed. So he can't control his hunger. He can't control his bodily requirements. Then how can he liberate his mind? So in that wrong view, with that wrong thinking, they just left Buddha and they went to this Benares, Varanasi. There was one Migadai deer park near Benares in the Sarnath, present day Sarnath. Migadai means like the deer park. There are so many other maybe the Isipatana, it's also called the place of the Isis, the Rishis, the sages. There may be so many other meditating enunciates also. Somewhere there. So these people, they went there and they started meditating by themselves. So Buddha, after the enlightenment, he thought of teaching this to some people who are capable enough to understand this. Then again, out of gratitude to his previous teachers, he started contemplating about two of his teachers. But that time they were no more. They died. Both his teachers, who taught him the jhanas. Then he thought about his 5 disciples. So then he started traveling. So on the way, he met one Upaka. He's again the student of this Nigantas, with Jains. So he was like, say, he was mesmerized. He was very much impressed by the very appearance of Buddha. Your countenance, your appearance is so attractive, so radiating, so impressive. Who is your teacher? What is your background? And Buddha declared, I don't have teacher, because no, of course, there were so many teachers who taught him about so many techniques, but the ultimate technique of liberating the mind was discovered by Buddha himself. So that's what Buddha told him. Though he appreciated, but because his view was very strong, which he got it from his teacher, the Nigantas, the Jains. So he appreciated, all right, just all the best for your mission. Now you are going to teach this. All right, all the best for your mission. So in that way, that Upaka, somehow she was overpowered by his wrong view. He could not follow Buddha. He could not learn from Buddha. Otherwise, he would have become the first disciple of Buddha. So, of course, later he left actually that Nigantas Sangha, that community, and he married, and after that married also he got disgusted with the family and the wife and all. Then, of course, by taking permission from his wife, the family, he came to Buddha and he became a monk under Buddha. And then he became Anagami. That means like almost close to the supreme enlightenment, absolute enlightenment, just before Arahant. So, but of course, it happened later, this Upakas. But it's not so in the case of these 5 disciples. When Buddha reached this Saranath, the Migadai, so after saying goodbye to this Upaka, so Buddha reached this Migadai near in Sarnath. And these 5 disciples, they were not very much thrilled by this Buddha's, like say, arrival, but still out of respect, because they were not happy with his path, with his middle path. When he started taking food, they were not knowing it is middle path. They were thinking that Buddha is enjoying the sensual things. So, with that notion, they were not very respectful when they saw Buddha. But somehow, because of the very magnanimous personality of Buddha, and of course, he was enlightened, but his very presence when he approached them, then they could not stop themselves without serving him. So they started serving him. They started offering him seed, giving water, everything. And then Buddha has to convince them. See, and they said, you are misled. You are not supposed to take any food and all, but you started taking food. You can't control your hunger, then how can you achieve enlightenment? In that way, they started arguing. Then Buddha said, no, I have achieved the supreme enlightenment. Repeatedly he had to say some 2-3 times, but still when they disagree, they don't accept this Buddha's supreme enlightenment. Buddha is repeatedly, like say, proclaiming. They could not appreciate it. Then Buddha has to say, you see, when you are not very strangers to me. You know very well, I know you very well, you know me very well. 6 years we were together. Whether you remember that even once I have climbed like this, that I am supremely enlightened. I am not climbed, but now I am climbing means that means I am not lying. Then their mind has, like say, calmed down. Their resistance decreased. Now they became more receptive. So you see the gentleness there, very humanly gentleness. There is nothing like authoritarianism there. Even now Buddha is convincing in a very, it's like almost in a humble way. You see the teachers, sometimes they have to become humble sometimes to make the receiver or the disciple to get that receptivity to learn. That kind of all kinds of skills Buddha was having. Out of compassion, out of wisdom, he used to use all these skills. And here also we can see the skills of Buddha in teaching, in disseminating this knowledge of supreme enlightenment to these five disciples. Though they were reluctant to learn from Buddha, but once Buddha could convince them that previously I did not claim that I am supremely enlightened, but now I am saying I'm climbing, means there should be some sense. I'm not lying, you see. So with that logic, with that humbleness, with that compassion of Buddha, now their resistance subdued, their ego subdued, and their receptivity increased. Now they are open to Buddha's teachings. That is the preparation that Buddha made. That is the background of this Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. And then Buddha gave this Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. Dhamma means this law, what Buddha discovered. You can say the law of this right view. And then Chakka means this, the wheel of this Dhamma, or this, the right view, the wheel of this right view. Pavattana means started rolling. So that's why this wheel of right view started rolling. Buddha started teaching this right view or this Dhamma. That's why this sutta is also called Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. Okay. So that is the background of this sutta and the meaning of this sutta, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. So here actually, as many of you know, after expounding the suttas or discourses and the teachings, again it was told to Ananda. Ananda, because of his tremendous memory, he could keep all these suttas in his memory. And then after Buddha's parinirvana, Mahaparinibbana, so again he just uttered this. Again, this he recollected and uttered these suttas in the first Buddhist council. And from there, all these suttas are actually, they are documented. They are learned orally also, and they were documented also. On bola leaves, on some slabs also later, and then of course the books also. So that's why this sutta is, of course, many suttas, almost all suttas. They start with this Evam Me Sutta. That's what I heard. That's how I heard. That means it is Ananda, he is recollecting and he is uttering. He is repeating what Buddha said in that first Buddhist council. So that's how. So this first phrase is the Evam Me Sutta means, as I have heard. It is actually heard by Ananda and he is repeating what Buddha said. So Buddha, when he was in Isipatana Megadaya with these five bhikkhus, Buddha started giving this Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. And there Buddha says, Dveme anta pabbajitena nasevitavva. The renunciates, the monks who are aspiring to become enlightened, to achieve Nibbana or Arahanthood, they should not indulge in two extremes. The renunciates, or for that matter, anybody who is aspiring for the ultimate happiness of Nibbana, he should not indulge in the two extremes. So don't think that it is suitable only for the monks or only for the renunciates. Please understand, it has lots of insights which are useful for the lay people also, householders also. That I try to elaborate. Let us see. So here, what Buddha is saying, one should not indulge in the extremes, two extremes. What are those two extremes? Hatame dve means, what are those two extremes? One is kama sukalli kanuyo, completely getting carried away in the sensual pleasures. Completely getting indulged in the sensual pleasures. Thinking that, yeah, there were so many groups, so many traditions, so many sects during the time of Buddha also, thinking that there were so many theistic groups and atheistic groups also. Simply indulging in sensual pleasures is good enough to become happy here and now, and after the death, nobody knows whether we will be there or not there, or if we are. And many atheistic traditions, they think there is no life after the death. That's why it's merrymaking, enjoying, sensually enjoying in this life and get lost from this world. That's why simply enjoy, simply satiate your sensual pleasures, simply excite your sensual pleasures. That's what is life. Whether they believe in some God or not believing in some God, or tradition, some sects or some religion, or the people that don't believe in religion like the atheists and all. This notion is there. Simply indulging in the bodily pleasures is the purpose of living. And that's why that's how their understanding, their interpretation, their perception about happiness. Bodily happiness, sensual happiness is the happiness. That's all. Is the happiness. With that notion, with that kind of view, many people indulge in, most of the people, they indulge in sensual things, worldly things, materialistic things, bodily pleasures. That is an extreme. For here, Buddha is talking about the renunciates, because these five bhikkhus are the renunciates, the five Panchavaggiya bhikkhus, they are called Panchavaggiya bhikkhus. But this statement holds good for the lay people also, for the householders also. The intensity it may vary from person to person, from the renunciates to householders. But the rule holds good for the lay people as well as the renunciates. The same rule. Don't think that it's only the sensual pleasure that is the purpose of living. Only indulging in the sensual pleasures is the reason to live. That is not the case. That is an extreme wrong view. That is an extreme way of thinking about happiness for the lay people. That is an extreme way for those who are looking for emancipation or liberation. In the same way, the other one, and he says that kama sukalli kaniyo is like essential pleasure. They are hino, gammo, potujjaniko, anariyo, anatta. Hino means it is ignoble, it is inferior. Gammo means it is the way of very, uncivilized people. Yeah. It is the way of the very, very uncivilized people, indulging only in the sensual things. Potujjaniko means it is, again, very mean people. Anaryo means ignoble people. Anatta samhito means it will not lead to your welfare. So, in that way, having this view that simply indulging in the sensual things, bodily things, materialistic things, is the purpose of living. That's why giving all importance to that only is one extreme wrong view. And the other one is yochayang atta kilamatani yogo dukkho anaryo anattas. Atta kilamatani means simply torturing the body for the sake of liberation, for the sake of future happiness. For the sake of future happiness, particularly torturing the body. Of course, future happiness is also equally important. Many of the things, many of the good things, sometimes, initially there will be some kind of suffering, some kind of pain one has to go through. For example, let us say Shila, we are practicing Shila. So let us say you're addicted to a lot of intoxicants, but giving up the intoxicants, maybe initially it is painful. So then you should not think that, oh, this painfulness is Attakilmatana Yoga. So this is one extreme thing. I should not indulge in giving up the intoxicants. I should indulge in taking intoxicants. In that way, I should not think. So this middle path, it varies from person to person. And also this thinking that it is, though it sometimes some pleasures or some practices, it may be painful now, it may be useful in the future. And for a long run, for a long term also it is useful. And it may be slightly painful now. That kind of discretion also one should have. That kind of wisdom also one should have. But during those days, many traditions, many sects, many practitioners, they were indulging in this very strong notion was there in their heads. What is that? Simply torturing the body, fasting for days and weeks and months, not taking food and simply torturing the body, becoming so thin, lean, you can't even stand. Then how can you meditate? How can you focus your mind? The same way, so many peculiar practices. Behaving always like a dog, behaving like a cow, behaving always like some animal. They think that that will liberate them. Or maybe simply not wearing the clothes in heat or in cold, simply torturing the body. So those things will not definitely help. Especially when you are in the path, when you are in the beginning stages, some basic comforts of the body also should be taken care of. That is what I teach. That's what I started doing when you left me. Because that I started indulging in eating. Because of this reason, not to fall into this extreme practice of fasting. Because I became so weak. When the body is so weak, the mind also becomes weak. And how can I even sit for meditation? And the motivation for that, the trigger for that kind of thinking is actually, it was again some divine help that Buddha got. So when someone was playing the lute, when the strings were too loose, they could not produce the sound, proper sound. The lute, the string instrument. When it is too loose also, it can't produce the sound. When it is too tight also, the strings could not produce the proper sound, proper music. The same way, the body and the mind, they should have some kind of comfort, especially the body, because we are working on the mind. Because the body, it caters, it holds the mind. When the body is too much under stress, under pain, under suffering, then the mind will also not be in balance, in peace. Because of that reason, I had to take the food. In that way, Buddha, in this very first message itself, he is defending what he did, point number one. And this is a very, very powerful message, which was very new to the people during those days. And even now also I can see, and of course you can also see, many spiritual people, either they thoroughly indulge in this kind of extreme practices. They will be into one of these extreme practices of either to indulge in these essential things or torturing the body. So in between, one has to strike the balance based on one's own abilities, based on one's own, like say, his say the bodily abilities, intellectual abilities, moral abilities. As many of the times the wise people used to say, if practicing 5 precepts is difficult for you, hold on to 4 precepts. in your case. For some people, 5 precepts itself may be too much. In some cases, 200 precepts also may be easy for some people, for some monks, let us say. And in some cases, even 1 precept may be difficult, or 2 precepts may be difficult. Then you practice 1 precept. Based on your abilities, your capabilities, your potentials, one should take up this middle path approach according to one's own situation. That is the point, again, one should remember here. In that way, the first concept that Buddha is giving to the world is this concept of striking the balance in these extremes according to one's own situation, according to one's own potential. So, not falling into these extreme views of only indulging in the sensual pleasures gives me happiness. No, only torturing the body and liberating the soul and the mind is possible. No. So, to purify the mind, I should have some kind of relatively comfortable bodily and mental situation, mental requirements, requisites. I have to fulfill that. That kind of knowledge is the first knowledge that Buddha is imparting here. And of course, once you progress in handling the body, handling the mind, then you can, let's say, take up more precepts. Then you can reduce your external dependency as much as possible. But once you take up this path, you should be very, very shrewd, very, very discreet, very, very wise and skillful in handling the basic comforts of the body, at the same time working on the mind without torturing the body and not simply getting carried away by the bodily desires or the sensual desires. So this kind of caution that Buddha is talking about in this first very, very important knowledge, this knowledge of middle paths. And again, this middle path is nothing but the Noble Eightfold Path that the Buddha is talking about here. And the Noble Eightfold Path consists of the right view. It starts with the right view. And the right view is actually, there are Dhammacakkappavattana Samadhi. There is something called one basic thing for all the lay people. It is very, very important. There is Jnana Samadhi. There are different kinds of Samadhi are there that we will see later. For the beginners, for the householders, the basic Samadhi should have is the Dhammacakkappavattana Samadhi. That means knowing thoroughly that good begets good, bad begets bad. So understanding what is good and how to involve in good so that you will get the good results. Understanding what is bad and how to keep away from the bad so that you should not get the bad results. This knowledge, if you have, you are into this very first aspect of Samadhi, the right view, that is the Dhammacakkappavattana Samadhi. Or it's also called Sucharita Samadhi. The right practice or the right actions Samadhi. Or knowing this law of cause and effect, the law of cause and effect Samadhi, right view, the law of cause and effect Samadhi. So this is the first thing that Buddha is talking about in this Samadhi. And then based on that Samadhi, you should not again, so don't fall into extreme sensual thoughts or extreme, like say, austere thoughts. Austere thoughts means so much body control or body torturing. That also you should not have. You should have that simplistic thoughts, loving kindness thoughts and all. But you should not be too extreme thoughts. That's what is the next one, Samma Sankappa. Based on that only, the Samma Vacha. And as many of you know, not to lie, not to talk some unnecessary waste things, gossiping, frivolous talk, not to backbite, not to speak harshly. All that is Samma Vacha. Samma Kammanto means like this. Not harming others by stealing, by killing, or sexual misconduct, or taking intoxicants. All this is Samma Kammanto, right actions. And right livelihood means, so not taking up the professions where a lot of killing is involved, a lot of torturing of the people, like say this manufacturing of weapons or poisons and all. During those days, this slave selling of these slaves and buying these slaves and all these some notorious professions. Nowadays, you can say all this this mafia, this all these so much this Gundaism and all, a lot of killing, violence, cheating, all this is involved. Such kind of professions one should not take up. That is this right livelihood, then right effort, again working on the mind to control the bad thoughts, to keep away the bad thoughts, to cultivate the right thoughts by so many ways. That is what is the right effort. Then based on these efforts, these preparations, then one should practice the right mindfulness, as many of you are practicing the right sense awareness meditations and the right view based so many other meditations to work on the four faculties of the mind that many of you are practicing. So that is right mindfulness. Then again, this foundation of this right view and right view based speech, actions, livelihood, efforts, mindfulness, then will get the right concentration, stilling of the mind, settling the mind on one object. And thereby you get what is called the absorptions. Mind thoroughly gets involved, absorbed into the mind sense. It will transcend all the physical senses. Body and the bodily senses, it will transcend. It get completely involved or absorbed into the mind sense. And that is what is called Samma Samadhi. That you can experience as first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana, first absorption, second absorption, third absorption, fourth absorption. So today, because of this Guru Puṇṇimā, I sent for some of you this about one article or one small booklet kind of thing, soft copy, about the jhanas, about the Samma Samadhi. Those who are serious, then some of you require, or if you think that some people are required about this, you can just share that material with others also, so that you will get some kind of motivation, some kind of interest in this path and in these jhanas. After all, this jhana is also a samadhi. Many people, they ignore the power of jhanas. That's why it is included as the jhana samadhi. Without establishing in jhana, you can't progress in the mind purification. That's what happened in the case of Buddha also. Buddha, when he started torturing his body and doing so many things, then finally he realized this is not the way. Then he was infant, very young. That time he could practice jhanas, this deep samadhi. That is the way. That is the way to calm down the body, calm down the mind, transcend the body, then completely get absorbed into the mind sense. That is the way that he could realize, he could recollect and realize. Then based on these jhanas only, he became supremely enlightened. That is the reason why this Noble Eightfold Path, from Samma Ditti to Samma Samadhi, one has to thoroughly establish. Then automatically, Samma Jnana, Samma Vimutti, the insight knowledges and the liberation you will get. Those insight knowledges are called the Vipassana knowledges. So without these 8 steps, you don't get those insight knowledges or Vipassana knowledges. So in that way, and then you won't get liberation. So these are the 8 basic fundamental steps that one has to prod, one has to become an expert. Then automatically Samma Jnana and Samma Vimutti, the insight knowledges and the liberation, it automatically happens. So that is the importance of jhana. That's why it's called jhana samadhi. So just like Dhammacakkappavattana samadhi, strong confidence in this law of cause and effect. Good begets good, bad begets bad. You should have this. The second one is achieving this jhana samadhi. Getting jhanas is the key to further progress in the mind purification and liberation. That's why this Noble Eightfold Path, starting from Samma Ditti to Samma Samadhi, I should become skillful in this. That knowledge you should have. That is what is the emphasis given by Buddha in this second point. The first one is the middle path. Second is the Noble Eightfold Path. One has to thoroughly understand and follow, starting from right view to right concentration, Samadhi to Samma Samadhi. And then again, if you want to understand this Dhammacakkappavattana Samadhi or this right view, the law of cause and effect right view, then Buddha gives very powerful one teaching, which is again universally accepted and very popular. That is the Four Noble Truths. Should have the clear understanding of what is happiness, what is suffering. Craving is the cause of suffering, and letting go is the cause of happiness. This mantra, this formula, one should keep in the mind. Then automatically he will establish in this Dhammacakkappavattana Samadhi, he will establish in the understanding of what is suffering and how to keep away from suffering, what is happiness and how to cultivate or establish in happiness. This is actually fundamental principle in, you can say, in everyone's, in the life of all living beings, because all of us, we are behind happiness, but we end up in suffering so many ways. But this formula, if we can keep, by craving only, I end up in suffering. Let me give up craving. Let me develop this art of letting go, the giving and giving up skillfully. Then I will end up in happiness. I can keep away from suffering. This basic formula, if you don't, then you can't appreciate right view, you can't appreciate Dhammacakkappavattana Samadhi, the law of cause and effect, you can't appreciate. And definitely you end up in more and more suffering only. Because of that reason, one should thoroughly comprehend and absorb and assimilate these Four Noble Truths. And that's what Buddha says. Understanding, assimilating, thoroughly assimilating Four Noble Truths is the very, very powerful trigger for you to achieve everything, to achieve success in meditation, success in Shila practice, success in the worldly life also actually, and success in the getting jhanas and insight knowledges and liberation also. This thorough perception of the Four Noble Truths. Craving is the cause of suffering, letting go is the cause of happiness. So I cultivate very skillfully the art of letting go, the art of giving and giving up, rather than getting carried away in this craving and attachment, this entanglement of craving and attachments. That I should let go, that I should come out of it. If this clarity is not there, then you can't be happy here and now and hereafter also. That means spiritually also and in the worldly levels also. You can't succeed also in the worldly pursuits also. It's not possible to succeed. So this is the basic formula which is useful not only for these Nibbana seekers, not only for the spiritual people, even for the worldly people, even for this worldly success. That is the reason why this is the very powerful teaching of Buddha, which is of course prized by all kinds of people from all strata of the society, from all over the world. So that is about these Four Noble Truths that is highlighted in this sutta. Each noble truth, thoroughly working on it, thoroughly understanding, at three levels understanding. So it is explained here. One should keep away, one should understand this first noble truth. There is dukkha. One should understand the craving is the cause of the dukkha, and you should try to pahina. So you should try to avoid it, keep it away. And the third and the fourth noble truths, one should practice and cultivate and develop the art of letting go and thereby art of achieving the happiness, superior happiness. So that is being explained in this Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. At three levels, each truth is explained. So in that way, this Four Noble Truths are very much highlighted in this Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. And that was enough. The Four Noble Truths, the middle path, not falling into the extremes, the Noble Eightfold Path, starting from right view to right concentration. That is the basic practice one should look into. And understanding craving is the cause of suffering, letting go is the cause of happiness. These three things, these three major concepts are highlighted in this Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, which are very much relevant for the householders. So all these 3 points, please keep in your mind. Even if to take the worldly decisions also, to come out of any kind of stress, any one of these 3, if you can recollect, remember, then lot of your stress you can just let go. And you can, with a lot of enthusiasm, you can plunge into whatever actions that you are in. You can take up the task at your hand with more enthusiasm by keeping these 3 points in your mind. Not falling into the extremes of the middle path. Then this understanding this Noble Eightfold Path, starting from right view to right concentration, and then knowing these Four Noble Truths, the essence of Four Noble Truths, the formula for happiness and suffering. So if this is there in your understanding, in your perception, in your memory, then definitely it will help you, it will rescue, it will safeguard you in different worldly occasions also, in worldly decision making also. So that's what is highlighted here. So after listening to this, the first disciple, Puṇṇimā, I was telling you, he himself was an astrologer and who predicted, who had foreseen Buddha's supreme enlightenment, was of course very wise. He could grasp this. He could comprehend this. These 3 points that are highlighted by Buddha, and he became Sotapanna, means he could see the first glimpse of Nibbana. So among the human beings, he is the first one who could learn, who can understand Buddha's teachings, and who could reach the goal of Sotapanna, who could enter into this stream of Nibbana. He entered this stream of Nibbana. Stream enterer, that is the meaning of Sotapanna. So that is the power of this Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. So in the human world also, this Dhamma started working. It rolled on one human being, that is this Puṇṇimā, and it converted him to a liberated one, or a Sotapanna, or a stream enterer who entered into the stream of Nibbana. Now this Dhammacakka, this wheel of Dhamma, it started rolling, and it starts converting millions and millions of human beings also. But during that occasion, during that Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, that discourse time, only one human being could be converted from this worldliness to liberation, from this worldly entanglement to the absolute disentanglement, and to enter into this stream of Nibbana. But innumerable divine beings and 18 crore Brahma beings, they were there in that first discourse time. And they could hear this, and they became enlightened. That's what is mentioned in the scriptures. And even in the commentaries and all, very authoritatively. So, and because so many beings, innumerable beings, the divine beings and Brahmic beings, they became emancipated, liberated. They could comprehend this so authoritatively. And they could understand simply indulging in these worldly things is of no use. And simply in pursuit of Nibbana, torturing the body or torturing the senses is of no use. Simply working on right view, working on the Four Noble Truths, working on this Noble Eightfold Path is the way to liberation. That many millions of these divine beings they could comprehend, and they became enlightened. During that process, many beings, they became excited, they became thrilled with these teachings, and starting from the lowest divine realm, it's called Bhumatta Devas. They started shouting, oh, what a phenomenal thing happened on the earth now. And that was heard by the next upper level of divine beings. And they were also thrilled and they also shouted. And in that way, from lower divine realm to the highest divine realm and to the Brahmic realms also, this kind of excitement, this kind of making noise or making sound about this new knowledge or new view that has come to this world. It was pronounced, it was declared. And that's again, it is explained in this Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. And that's how so many divine beings, so many Brahmic beings also, they got this knowledge, this nectar of wisdom, tremendous wisdom, knowledge, and they also could get this, they also become stream enterers. They could also see the glimpse of Nibbana on different levels. So in that way, it is not only benefited the human world, though it was only one person, of course, it started rolling. So the beginning is important. You see, the first step is correct, then automatically half of the journey is over. So that's how the first step, Buddha is successful in converting this one human being to this enlightenment, to this liberation, that is this Puṇṇimā. When Buddha became thrilled, in this very first discourse, this Puṇṇimā could comprehend this knowledge, and he became Sotapan. And Buddha declares, oh yes, Anna Puṇṇimā, yes, the wise Puṇṇimā. The Puṇṇimā could comprehend, and now he is the wise Puṇṇimā. In that way, Buddha declares, Buddha calls this Puṇṇimā as very wise. And later he became popular as Anna Puṇṇimā, wise Puṇṇimā. And he is the first human being who could comprehend Buddha's teachings and become a stream enterer. Who the Dhamma wheel acted on him and converted him. So in that sense, this Puṇṇimā is also very special. So in that way, how this Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, with these three major concepts, these three major powerful teachings, could convert one human being, innumerable divine beings, and 18 crore Brahma beings. That's what is explained in this Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. Okay. So, so there are 6 divine realms from this Bhumatta Devas. There is one plane called Chatumaharajika Deva, and from there is one Yama. Sorry, Tavatimsa. After Tavatimsa, there is one Yama. After Tusita. After Tusita, there is one Nimbanarathi Deva realm. After that, Paranimita Vasavarti Deva realm. And after that, this Brahma Deva realm, that Brahmic realm. So in all these different realms, the sound of this great knowledge was spread, was shouted, was screamed, was transferred from one realm to another realm. And thereby, so many Brahmic beings, divine beings also, they could get this wonderful knowledge that was discovered and taught by Buddha. That is the first discourse of Buddha, that is Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. And for the lay people, for the householders also, please understand, please take these 2-3 key takeaways. Don't complete, please understand there is nothing like the purpose of life is not to satiate only the bodily pleasures and essential requirements. There's something beyond that. Purifying the mind, deriving the happiness from the mind, from the purified mind, is the purpose of the life. That you should understand. So for that, ignoring or torturing the body is not the key. Satiate the basic requirements of the body. Or don't fall into the extreme of torturing the body. That is point number 2. And this point of this first point, middle part, you can apply in all aspects of life. If you are too sensual, step by step you reduce your sensual attachments. If you are too simplistic or too, like say, too much torturing the body in the name of wisdom, in the name of liberation, in the name of penance, in the name of simple life. Though it is a torture, though it is not convenient or comfortable for you to develop the mind, then you should loosen up a little bit. You should indulge, or you should accept, or you should involve in the worldly or the sensual pleasures also, based on your temperament, your potential, your ability. Don't compare with others. This is what is my potential. For example, the precepts, 5 precepts. For me, 8 precepts is okay. Then take 8 precepts. For me, 6 is enough. Okay, 6 is enough. After thoroughly practicing 6, then I go for 7 and 8. After thoroughly practicing 7 and 8, then I go for 9 and 10. After thoroughly practicing 9 and 10, then get more confidence, more comfort in 9 and 10 also. Then I take up more than 10. That way, go in a very skillful way, not falling into the extremes. The same thing in your work also, in your relation also, in your anything for that matter. Middle path, moderation. Moderation, morality, and middle path. Keeping the mind-centered happiness. This is the key point that all the householders also do should. Not thinking about the soul and in the name of seducing the soul, don't torture the body. Or not simply getting carried away in the sensual pleasures. Becoming too materialistic, ignoring the mind. That is also not good. Be mind-centered, be moderate, be moral, and of course, be mindful also. By being mindful, all these things will fall in place. Then you have understood this middle path. Then understand, starting from right view to right concentration. All these are essential steps. Let me practice all of them step by step in a skillful, authoritative, step-by-step way. These things also keep in the mind. And this will help you in your worldly progress, worldly happiness also. Right view to right concentration. And as I was telling you regarding this right concentration, right mindfulness, the booklet, you can share among yourself and see that you will get some insights on this special day. There is one more suggestion I can tell you. And understanding these 4 noble truths also is very important. Will help you in each and every minute, actually, I can tell you. Day-to-day life. When you are suffering, when you are stressful, you just remember you are attached to something. That's why you are stressful. You are stressful, you are anxious, you have a lot of worries and fears, pain, you have anxiety, you have some remorse or grief. Simply remember that it is because of my attachment. It is because of my craving only I am suffering. Then a lot of stress will go. And take up some giving or giving up activity. Giving up activity is meditation. Giving activity is some punya kriya, some generosity, some service, or practicing a little bit of morality or some service. These things, some spiritual practice. Then you are into some giving and giving up. Then you will come out of stress, anxiety, or grief, or worry, or fear. So you can apply this in each and every aspect of life. Because most of the times, householders definitely you have to go through a lot of stress, anxiety, worry, fear. Apply these 2 aspects. Oh, now I am under stress because of some attachment. Let me understand this. Let me give up that attachment as much as, of course, overnight you can't give up all that attachment. At least understand first step. Then you, to counter it, you do involve in some giving or giving up. That is the letting go activity, meditation, or some kind of generous action, or some service action, or at least diversion. Simply letting go, some relaxing the mind in some activity, in some work. Even working is also giving, actually. If you are lazy only, then you will become more and more stressful. Immediately, if you involve in some work, then you have to give. You have to give your intelligence, your energy to perform some work. Then, if it is a wholesome work, if it is more compassionate work, if it is more a powerful work like meditation. Meditation is also a kind of work or some service. Then you will be free from stress and anxiety. So in that way, you can apply these three important concepts that we have seen as householders also, all the time in day-to-day life also. Okay, so with this, I think we will conclude. As usual, if you have some questions, we can ask. Anything?
Vandami Banteji.
Sorry, Sukhivantu Upasana.
Banteji, in this sutta, Buddha explained about dukkha, Dukkha Panchaskandha dukkha, and then forward next while in session in Dukkha Nirodha, he explained about Chagopati Sango Mutti Analoyo. So I want more explanation from you about Chagopati Sango.
Chagopati Sango Mutti Analoyo.
Patinisango. What is the difference between Chago and Patinisango? And another question, is it this Chago is related with monetary dana or any other sacrifice or any other restraint to our
giving?
Yes, I want this elaboration from you.
Okay, so the third noble truth, that is Dukkha Nirodha Satcha. So that means it is all letting go only. These are the four types of letting go. Chago, Patinisango, Mutti, Analo. Chago means you can just understand giving something that is not very strongly attached. Like for example, if I want to help one poor person, let us say I'm very, very rich person. So helping one person, one poor person may not be a big issue for me. But of course, there are different levels of Chago, Bodhisattvas and all. They used to give their life also. And as you were asking, it is monetary support, materialistic support, we can say. Even teaching also, whatever, even the worldly knowledge also, if we can teach, that is also giving, isn't it? It's not just monetary or clothes or food or shelter or medicines or even teaching, even the books. These things also. That is also Chago. Then, of course, in some cases, like the extreme cases, so they can give to any extent. They can take up this giving to a greater extent, even though some kings, they could give their entire empire also. So in that way, giving, it has a big range, wide range. Chago has a very, very wide range. The first giving, the first letting go. Patinisango is actually, it's very tricky. Tricky in the sense, like, though for some materialistic things also you may be very, very attached to it. For your life, for the life, generally people are attached. But sometimes emotionally or sentimentally, even for some small materialistic things also, or for some kind of love and affection also, for the loved ones also, you can't give up. So that kind of very strong attachment, whether it is an emotionally strong attachment, materialistic things, you may be having strong attachment. To a person, you have a strong attachment. Or to your own life, you may be having a strong attachment. So that kind of strong attachment, if you can let go, that is what is Patini Sadhya. So Chago means your very general ability to give, where there is no strong attachment, either to materialistic things or to the emotional things or to the people, or even to the life. In the case of Bodhisattvas, giving up the life may be a chago for him, for a Bodhisattva, because he used to give his life even to the animals also. Many times when he was a tigress, he used to give his life when he was a prince, he gave his life to one tigress, one tigress. And when he was one rabbit, one hare, he gave his life for the sake of one begging person, one who is hungry person. He offered his body to one hungry person. For Bodhisattva, giving life is also just a minimal act of giving, a chago. But for a one stingy person, giving 10 rupees is also a big act for him. For him, it may be Patini Sadhya. For a person who is strongly attached to some materialistic thing, forget about life, or forget about some person. Buddha used to offer when it is required, when he was actually in the second previous life. In the first previous, he was actually the king of Deva realm. And before that, he was one king in the human world. And he had to offer his wife and children also, actually. So in that way, this Chago and Patini Sadhya, it doesn't depend on the material or the things that you are offering. It depends on the attachment in your mind towards that material, towards that thing that you are offering. If you are very strongly attached, that also if you are giving up, then it is Patini Sadhya. If you are not strongly attached, that you are giving up because you have that excess, that you are giving up. You are cultivating that habit of giving. That is what is Chago. So that is the difference between Chago and Patini Sadhya. So as I used to tell in our meditation courses also, one old man, one old Brahmin was having only one upper garment. Both he and his wife, they used to share that upper garment during daytime and nighttime. For him, offering that one garment itself is one very difficult task. It struggled so much to let go that one garment, one cloth, one robe, because of his condition and so many things involved there. But for a king, that kind of robes, hundreds he could offer. He could give it up. But for that Brahmin, maybe giving up his life may be easy. For that old man, old Brahmin. But giving up that cloth, it was very, very challenging for him because it used to take care of both he and his wife's, like say, they used to cover their bodies, these clothes. So he was having tremendous attachment to it. So in that way, what you are giving, it doesn't matter. How much attachment you have towards what you are giving, that matters to differentiate between Chago and Patini Sadhya. Got it?
Yes, nicely explained, Bhatnaji. But the full phrase that Chago Patini Sadhya Mutti Analayo, what is the full meaning of this?
Mutti Analayo. Mutti is like it is the ability to accept also. Many times, out of our ego or out of so many other intricacies in the mind, we can't accept. We can't accept the present moment. That's why we can't be in the present moment. Because while we are in the present moment, we may be thinking something either with craving or with hatred, we may be thinking something else. Then you can't accept what's happening in the present moment. or maybe because of some other reasons also. You may not like the person who is offering something to you, or you may not like the person who is next to you. So that kind of resistance or inability to accept, that is again the cause of suffering. When something is unavoidable, something is inevitable, you have to accept. That ability to accept, so that is what is actually the mukti. And accepting it with all enthusiasm, taking it as my choice, that is again a skill. It's again very difficult actually. Many times we can't accept many things, people, things. Many times we can't accept. That is again your inability to understand the beauty of acceptance, or you can't let go. That is as one of the kinds of letting go. You don't think that letting go means only giving and giving up. Letting go is the ability to accept also. That is what is accepting, embracing, receiving. Because so many times in our office, in our family, in our friend circle, in our community, in our nation, we have to accept so many things. Some law we have to accept as a family member. A few things, a rule is made in the family, you have to accept it. In a community, you have to accept it. Some rule is made, but many times mind will not accept, and that's how you end up in suffering. I used to give the examples in the meditation classes also. You can't accept even the palace. If you live in the palace also, it will become very boring and it will become a hell for you. Though you may be having 1 million things around you. Same way, if you don't like some person, if you have to be with him, you can't accept him, then the life becomes a hell. So in that way, this art of acceptance is also a kind of letting go. And that's what is mukti. And the last one, analayo, is the flexibility, the softness, the sponginess in the mind. Able to accept and able to give up. And there is a need to accept, wholeheartedly accept. There is a need to give and give up, wholeheartedly give and give up. That kind of very mature, very flexible, very spongy, soft mind, matured mind is analayo. So these are the 4 ways of letting go. And these 4 ways of letting go is only this third noble truth. That is dukkha, nirodha satcha. Nirodha means this is the way to completely destroy dukkha. These 4 ways of letting go is the way to destroy dukkha, annihilate dukkha, completely nullify and annihilate dukkha. What are they? The art of giving. Slowly cultivating the art of giving by serving, by giving the materialistic things, whatever. And then again, developing that ability to give up even those things which you are strongly attached. That is Patinisaggo. And the third one is ability to learn this art of acceptance also. Many times the people, the things, the rules, so many things one has to learn to accept when it is inevitable, with a very pleasantness in the mind, skillfulness in the mind, compassion in the mind. And then the last one is the complete matured mind, which has the ability to accept also, which has the ability to give and give up also, in a very lucid way and very easy way. That kind of mature, spongy mind is analayo. So these are the 4 kinds of letting go, which are nothing but the ways to completely annihilate, completely destroy the suffering. The third noble truth.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, Manteji. Thank you.
Any other thing? Okay, so on this very special, auspicious occasion, all of you progress in this right view. Understand the whole life is not sufficient to progress, understand, establish in this right view. And in so many ways you can establish in this right view. This is one of the ways, that's all. Listening, learning, reading. And there are so many other ways of practicing meditations, cultivating these meritorious actions. So in all these different ways, keep progressing in this right way. Meritorious actions like not just generosity, morality, service. Talking about right view, spreading right view is one very, very powerful meritorious action. Because this is the best gift that you can think of. Giving this and that, it is okay for the beginners. But once you start growing in this, then you should commit to this. You should take it as some people simply they do this and that and they simply waste the life. In the name of doing that, learning this, learning that. There should be some strong commitment towards this also. Other things which are required in the worldly life, you can definitely do, I don't object. But this should grow deep and deep into your hearts and minds. Because you should know the power of this right view and these right practices based on right view. Because this is not just the commitment for one life, I tell you. At least you should keep it as the platform, as the launch pad. Always work on this. You may do 1 million things in the world, but don't forget about this. Because as I told you, here and now and hereafter, this is the one that comes to your rescue, comes to your protection. Not the teacher, not Buddha, not your relatives or your money or your wealth or your skillfulness, your intelligence, your data, your knowledge about 1 million things about the world, this knowledge, that knowledge. Simply don't go behind these unnecessary curiosities also. You simply end up in tiresomeness, disappointment. It is necessary for the worldly life, it's okay, you can take it up, definitely. Because when you are carried away in 1 million unnecessary things, then you don't lose the important, then you lose these important things. It's very, very important. That's what is my concern. Again, of course, according to your middle path, you start giving preference to this cultivation of right view in all these different ways. And slowly progress in this right view and this right practice. This is your savior, not just the Guru, not just the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, not just the scriptures. But of course, it is also part of progressing in the right view, but all these other aspects also keep progressing. That is what is the message on this Dhammacakkappavattana Day and this Guru Puṇṇimā. Don't fall into the trap of wrong views, trap of some unnecessary curiosities, trap of some ego inflations. Many times people get trapped into some kind of silly ego inflations and they forget the important things. It is also actually right view. Knowing the priorities in the life is also right view. People, they may be having a lot of intelligence, but they will not be having these priorities. That's why they lose all their intelligence in some unnecessary things. This itself, establishing right view itself is a tremendous thing. It requires tremendous your energy, your intelligence, your time, your resources. Simply wasting all these things on some unnecessary things. You work on this, then you see how the mind grows, how the true happiness. You can strike your inner core authoritatively with this right view practice and establishing in this right view. That much guarantee, that much assurance I can give you. That much care one should take for oneself. It's again, as I told you, Attahi Attano Nato. The guide, the teacher, everyone is like a support, like Kalyana Mitta, like a good friend, that's all. So it is you who should work on your mind, your progress, your purity, your inner happiness, superior happiness. Others are just some supporting factors, that's all. Even the Guru, even the Buddha. That is what is Buddha's approach. That's why we are actually, Guru Puṇṇimā means it is like a good friend Puṇṇimā, that's all. Here a Guru means a good friend, that's all. Good, little bit matured friend, that's all. In that sense, we use the word Guru in the Buddhist context. Okay, but still, of course, a matured friend, a Guru is a Guru, definitely. As I told you again, the beginning of this discourse, don't be too much dependent on the Guru. In some sects, some traditions that we see, are too much negligent or too much careless about the Guru. That is also one extreme thing. Somewhere in between, where you have to depend on the Guru, you have to depend, where you have to depend on yourself, where you have to depend on yourself. That way, you strike the balance, then the rest everything will fall in place and you authoritatively fall into this path and you can progress in this path. Okay, I think with this we'll conclude. We don't have questions. Okay. भवतु सर्वमङ्गलं रक्षन्तु सर्वदेवता सर्वबुद्धानुभावेन सर्वधर्मानुभावेन सर्वसङ्गानुभावेन तदा स्वस्ति भवन्तु ते सुखी भवेयन्नि दुःखो अहमिच्छा अहंव्या पिता च मे सुखी होन्तु मज्जता च तवेदिनो मामि गम्मन्ते धम्म सत्ता होन्तु सुखी सदा ततो परञ्च रज्येषु चक्रवालेषु जन्तुनो सुखी होन्तु मंगल हो. May all of you be happy, healthy and peaceful. May all beings also be happy, healthy and peaceful. Sukhi Hunt Mangal.